coming up, I do my first long trip in my new EV. Welcome back to the channel. So I recently bought a new Atto 3 as well, just like my wife, and I picked it up from Osborne Park. And while I was there, the opportunity to look at the little Dolphin hatchback while I was there, and that was quite a nice little car as well. Now the trip I'm going to do with my car today is exactly the same trip I did with my wife's car. There's my wife there with her new Atto 3, which I did a few weeks ago, so you can go back and have a look at that on the channel, the long trip I did. I'm doing exactly the same trip, although it's going to be, of course, slightly different. I'm going to go to different places on the trip. So what a day I had on the Friday. So I picked up my car on Thursday, and then first thing on Friday morning I had a tow bar fitted at an unnamed place in Rockingham. I'm not going to give the name of them. Unfortunately they didn't do a great job, but the kind people up at Towlink in Rangawa offered to help me out on a Friday and fix the issues that I had going up there. But first of all I had to pick up a Frunk, which was in Redcliffe. So I had to make quite a detour, and I'll put a link in the description if you are in Perth and you do want to get a Frunk. There's a guy in there named Chris who is a nice bloke, and he makes these custom-made Frunks you can get. But anyways, after driving to Redcliffe, then I had to drive up to Rangawa, battling the traffic on a Friday afternoon, and I can't recommend them enough. They really did a great job and helped me out late on a Friday afternoon. They didn't even want any money. I had to sort of give them $50 cash for helping me out and putting the correct fuse on my car there. So thank you very much to Towlink in Rangawa for that. Now, all the driving around, before I could leave to go to Merredin, I had to go to Ampcharge Stratton, and that's where our journey begins late on a Friday afternoon. Okay, so we're plugged into the Ampcharge here at Stratton, ready to go to Merredin after this. So here we are. So I'm at 68%, so I'm going to go up to probably about 95%. And yeah, we've got some clown here parked in the electric vehicle parking, so bad luck if you want to use the other port here. Some dickheads parked there. Okay, so finally I can start my first leg of the journey, and I'm just going as far as Meckering, which is just over an hour and 114 kilometers. Okay, so I'm on my way, and boy am I glad to get out of the city. The traffic has been a nightmare today in Perth, I can just tell you. Okay, so we're just about to leave the city, and we're on our way to Merredin. And you can see I've put in 90, just over 95%, giving a range of 452 according to this. And yeah, away we'll go. I'll give you some economy figures later on. But we're at Baker's Hill, which has a great pie shop. If you're hungry, you can always stop here. I've stopped there a few times at Baker's Hill. Not today though. I'm not that hungry after that traffic in Perth. I'm just keen to get on with my trip. So let's check out the fuel economy. So 19.6 the last 50 k's, and that's because I've been driving through the hills, and hopefully the economy will improve now, but that's pretty crappy economy to start the trip off. So I've got the sun behind me, which is good, and I think it should be quite pleasant to drive now to Merredin. So I am going to get there well and truly after the sun sets. So I'm still going to fast charge when I get there, so that I don't have to worry about it in the morning. And what a contrast to the city. It's very quiet on the highway, I'm pleased to say. I've only seen one other truck so far, so that's really good as well. It's already feel a little bit less stressed. Just about to drive into the little town of Meckering, and we're going to have a look at the earthquake ruins. Earthquake ruins at Meckering, which had an earthquake many decades ago now. Luckily nobody was hurt. I've only visited it once before, but I won't put the drone up today because I'm already hours behind, so I'm just going to make a little stop here, just stretch my legs. But here you can have a look. This is an old farmhouse which collapsed, and amazingly nobody died in it. But yeah, have a look at it, check it out. It's right next door to beautiful wheat field, and it's a beautiful time of the day actually. Okay, so with the sun setting, our second and final leg is to Merredin, which is just over an hour as well, 128 kilometres. Before we get going, we'll see the range is 266. I've got 60% battery left. I'm pleased to say the last 50 kilometre reading has fallen a little bit, so 17.3, because now I'm on the highway now and it's a bit flatter. Okay, so we're back out on the highway and it's still another hour and 10 minutes roughly to Merredin, so it's 124 k's, and then I'll do some fast charging before I go to the accommodation. Okay, so here I am, I made it to Merredin. My goodness, what a long day today for me. And I've plugged in. There you go, you can see the charging's nice and high at the start, 87 kilowatts. I've got a quarter of a battery. I'll go inside and show you some figures in a minute, but we're going with the charging. Ooh, it's pretty dark here. They need to get some lights. So I'm pretty much down to my last quarter, so it'll be interesting to compare that with last time. So you can see that the peak is quite good. It's up around 90 kilowatts at the start, showing an hour to go to full, but as normal I'll probably just go to around 80%. Just about to wrap it up here. I'm pretty tired from the day and it's closing in on 9 o'clock here, so yep, I think that'll be it for me tonight, and I'll try and work out some stats for you later on. Okay, so Merredin I ended up putting in around 35.5 kilowatts. I was there for roughly half an hour, $21.34. Okay, it's day 2 here, and you can see I fully charged overnight. It did a top cell balance for quite a while there this morning. But anyway, we're 453 kilometres. We're only going to Moraine Rock today, which is, about 20 k's from Southern Cross, and maybe 80 kilometres, 85 kilometres, something like that today. And we've done 244.8 kilometres since we charged there in Stratton. So I'll do some back of the envelope calculations and work out what the mileage was. I still say mileage, but I don't know, I guess it would be energy efficiency would be the new term. I'm not sure. Okay, so I've done a few calculations and I hope they're correct, but yesterday we did 242 kilometres between the two charges. We used 42.6 kilowatts of the battery, meaning that the final economy was 17.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres. And before I set off from Merredin, I decided to visit the Pet Cemetery, which is only a couple of kilometres from Merredin, and yeah, it's a nice little spot, so let's have a look at this lovely little pet cemetery. Okay, we're just about to set off on day 2, and we're going to stop at somewhere called Burracoppin, or at least the railway dam in Burracoppin, and it's a very short trip to get there. I don't think I'm going to get terrific economy or efficiency today because I've got quite a strong headwind, which, it's not uncommon along this road and travelling in this direction. But anyway, well, I'll see how I go, and it doesn't really matter because I'm only going as far as Moraine Rock, which is about 80 k's or so from Merredin. And anyway, we'll probably stop at a few places along the way. Alright, so we're on the Burracoppin Northwest Road, and there's a little attraction I want to have a look at here. There's a railway dam, and I believe there's some old ruins. We're sort of near Burracoppin, the little locality of Burracoppin, which is a very tiny place, not far from Merredin, so I'm going to go and check it out. The road here is pretty good. Okay, so I believe this is called the railway dam, if I'm not mistaken, and so named because there is the railway line which just goes straight past it. And there is a sort of granite outcrop here, which I believe you can climb. I might go for a little bit of a hike, but not too far. And yeah, I'll have a little wander around here, but there's a little bit of water in there. Kangaroo. car after that little hike, and yeah, put some sunscreen on because gee, it's warmed up a lot. It's around 30 degrees according to this. Anyway, I can tell you what the economy is. I've only done 35k since I've left Merredin, but yeah, we can already see that the economy is sitting on 18.6 there. So yeah, quite higher than yesterday, and that's because I've got a ripper of a headwind going there. Got a nice looking bobtail here on the road. There's plenty of these in the wheat belt, and this one's quite big, so I don't want to get too close to him because I don't want to scare him, but maybe I can usher him off the road because people do run over them. But yeah, he's a real beauty. They're beautiful lizards. Come on, little fella. I don't really want to lift him up. I can do it, I've done it before. You just grab him at the back of the neck, but I don't really want to scare him, so come on, little fella, come on. Oh, in the end he was pretty tame. I managed to lift him up and get him to the side here, so that was pretty good. So hopefully he'll wander off into the bush now. I'm just always worried when I see him on the road. A little bit further on, I decided to stop at another little historic site, and that of the rabbit-proof fence. So it's now called the State Barrier Fence, and you've heard conflicting reports of how successful it was. Some people say the rabbits just burrowed their way under anyway. Other people said no, a lot of rabbits did die from it. But anyway, if you're ever down near Hyden, there's a much better example where you can actually see the fence. And a little bit further down the road, there's also a pioneer memorial, so quite a few little places you can stop along here. While doing this trip between Merredin and Southern Cross, just be aware there are some roadworks. They're building this amazing new bridge here, which is really nice, and a new road here. But of course they had to shut the road for many months. So it's been closed for several months already. There's a little bit of a bypass here next to the bridge where you have to go 60. So just be aware of that if you're doing this part of the road. Alright, so we've got some more roadworks here too, which probably will be here for several more months as well. So just be aware of that. So we've got another 60 zone here. Now, I'll give you a quick economy check. We're probably only about 30 or 40 k's from the accommodation. But check that out, 19.3. So that's quite a lot. That's going on the last 50 k's. So quite an increase from yesterday, and that's because of this headwind we've got. Nulla Nulla Farm retreat, Moorine Rock, about 20 k's or so from Southern Cross. And you can go back and have a look at the review I've done of this place and of the farm. They do wildlife rescue, and they're really nice people here, and it's a great place to stay if you're looking for somewhere. So yeah, go and check it out. I've arrived in Moorine Rock. So I used roughly a third battery, 120 kilometers. So in the end, it's still not doing too bad economy wise. 15.4 for the past 50 kilometers. And 16 is the lifetime there, so it's really not too bad for a headwind. I think with a tailwind you could easily get 400 k's out of a full tank of electrons, but yeah, a little bit less. So yeah, a little bit surprising that it's so good. I mean, pleasantly surprising. Anyway, I've arrived at my AirBNB here. Okay, so day 2 stats were quite surprising with that headwind, maybe because I had to slow down a little bit and I did do a couple of side trips, but 120.9 kilometers, just over a third of the battery, 20.4 kilowatts, leaving me with an economy of 16.87 kilowatt hours per 100. That's excellent. Okay, so day 3, I'm heading home to Kalgoorlie, but I ended up making a stop at Coolgardie, which is roughly 2 hours from Moorine Rock, 208 kilometers you can see there according to Google Maps. Okay, so it's very very late on Friday night. It's nearly midnight, so I slept for a few hours and I'm ready to go on with my trip here. And I've just charged to 90% with the granny, so that's plenty to get home to Kalgoorlie now. So it's showing 414 range. Now the wind's died off quite a bit, so hopefully I won't have any issues with too much of a headwind interfering with the economy, although I'm going to stick on 105 probably for the rest of the way, maybe even 110, and I won't bother charging in Southern Cross. I think I'll just stop there and get a drink and then go on with the trip. As you can see, it's a moonless night. You just have to be careful going back out onto the highway because sometimes there's kangaroos along this spot, but so far it seems to be pretty good. Okay, so let's do a little check-in here. So 19.8, so that's gone up significantly. I feel like it's less than the last time I did this trip though. The last time it was definitely around 20, so it's a little bit less, I think, and that's because the wind is not quite so strong. It's really just the speed. Sitting on 105, you're really going to chew through that battery at a rate of 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So yeah, useful to know for those people who are considering doing long trips with an EV. As I'm driving along here too, I should just point out too that it is pretty flat between Kalgoorlie and Perth. So if you're in a hilly region, remember your economy might be a little bit different too, so that's just something to bear in mind. But it looks like it's settled down, and its average is probably going to be around between 18 and 19, I would guess. So yeah, you'll easily get 300 if it's not too hilly, would be my sort of guess at this stage. So I'm about 70 kilometres from Kalgoorlie, and yeah, it's jumped back up again to 20. I'm still showing a range of 115, so I should comfortably make home. If I feel like I'm not going to, I'm going to decrease my speed. But yeah, it's interesting to see how it's fluctuating in a little bit, and I think it's maybe because I'm starting to go uphill a little bit, so that might be affecting the efficiency. Now I've just remembered there are some new fast chargers in Coolgardie which I wanted to stop at and have a look at. They've only been open for about a week, so yeah, maybe I should put in just 5% just to be on the safe side to get home. I've arrived in Coolgardie and you can see 82 kilometers. I probably would get home comfortably, but I did promise Matt, the guy who sold me this car, that I would take some photos of all the chargers between Kalgoorlie and Perth. So there's 3 lots of fast chargers. So you've already seen the ones in Merredin. I didn't stop at Southern Cross on this trip, and of course now in Coolgardie. So let's go out and have a look. Now these chargers are got a lot more light on them. The ones in Merredin were pretty dark, so these ones definitely a lot better if you're going at night time. So you've got the 2 CCS2 chargers, of course, and 1 AC charger, which is capped at 7 kilowatts. Must be one of the first few people to use the charger here. So that's what's coming up here. I've plugged it in. Let's go and have a quick squiz inside. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get up around 90. 87.9. 88. So yeah, so it's getting up around that 90 kilowatts, which is what you get with the BYD for the first good chunk of the battery. And if you're not already aware, I don't know if I've mentioned it, but this car is a demo model, so it's had about 6,000 Ks on it, and I don't know whether it's had a bottom cell balance recently. So that was another thing which tipped me over to saying, yeah, let's put a bit of charge in. I don't really want to run it below 10% and then suddenly have it die on me, or 15%, because I don't know if Matthew, who had the car before me, it was his company car, I'm not sure whether he drove it and did a bottom cell balance, which is, you know, when the battery gets low, to recalibrate the cells, to balance the cells. It wouldn't have been very good to have been, you know, 10 kilometers from Kalgoorlie and to have it cark out on me. So yeah, I'm just going to sit here, put in a few percent, and then I can finally get home, because yeah, it's getting pretty early in the morning and I'm starting to get a little bit tired. So yep, last part of the trip here, 40 kilometers to go. At close to 90 kilowatts, and I've only been here for a few minutes, and that's plenty for me, and time for this tired boy to head home, so I'm going to stop now. So a quick top up there in Coolgardie, 15 kilowatts, and that was $9.04. Time to head home. Alright, so that was just a 10-minute stop here, and I'm back up to 46%, I think that is. So time to head home. Okay, so I'm almost home here, and I'm going to have a very happy doggy greeting me when I get home, so I'm just going to quickly do the last 50 k's. According to this is 18.2, so, and I was stuck on 110 for the rest of the way, so all in all, I'm actually very impressed with the economy of the BYD Atto 3 for what it is. You know, it's never going to be as efficient as a Tesla, but it's still highly efficient, I think, for an EV, for a small SUV. So yeah, pretty impressed by the journey, and I'm not going to do the final statistics tonight. I'll do them tomorrow morning because I am ready for bed. Okay, well, I've had a few hours sleep, so and I can give you a few statistics here. So the trip from Perth was 621.5. That was from the Ampcharge to home, and 255 kilometers is what I did yesterday, or early this morning, coming from Merredin Rock. But anyway, you can see I'm left with around 33%, so I'll have to go away and do some figures and come back and give you them. But anyway, the sun's up here now, and I'm producing some solar power on the roof, so I'm going to plug in now. Okay, so it's a nice sunny day, so plenty of solar being produced. So I'm going to plug in, and we only have to have the one cable now, luckily, because I don't have the Mitsubishi anymore, so my wife and I don't have to change cables. We can just plug in, and this is my little wall charger here. So we should get close to 7 kilowatts, and then you'll have some losses, which means the power going to the car will probably be around 6.3, something like that. And there you go, at 6.2. It's showing, I think that's 6.5 hours until 4. A wall charger is definitely good, especially if you've got solar. So yeah, that's home charging done and dusted. Before we get to our final stats, this is what a typical day looks like for me with the solar. So, well, when I say typical, it does vary, but I try not to get the purchase price, which is the orange, any more than is necessary. So you can see actually there's 0 today with charging. So normally I would keep my charging speed to around 3.2, which is half the maximum I can do. It's only if I really need the charge quickly that I'd crank it up higher, because obviously I don't want to pay as much power as I can. I want to keep it as low as possible. So you can see here, this is what the daily one looks like. So you can see the orange one is not too bad. I do purchase a little bit. Obviously if it's hot, we use air conditioning at night, and you can see that's what it looks like over the year. So my goal is to make the purchase as low as possible. Okay, so let's do the final stats. So the long trip that we did from Merredin Rock to Coolgardie, the battery went from 90 to 23%, so we used 67%, which was around about 40.2 kilowatts, and we did 215 kilometers like I said, so that gives an efficiency of 18.69 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which was quite high, but we were doing speeds of 105 on that stretch. Okay, and for our final little stretch, that was from Coolgardie to Kalgoorlie, which is a trip of 38.5 kilometers. The battery went from 46% to 33%. So we used 13% of the battery, which is 7.8 kilowatts, leaving us with a final economy for that last little stretch of 20.25 kilowatt hours. So into the 20s, but we were doing, or I was doing, 110 kilometers an hour, which in real world is about 107 kilometers an hour because of the speedo differences, but definitely a higher speed. So you can see that those high speeds, you really start to chew through the battery a lot quicker. So yeah, something for you to keep in mind. Okay, I think I better wrap it up there. It's been a long episode, so thanks a lot for sticking with me through this trip I did a few weeks ago. I really appreciate it. Would love if you would like and subscribe. That would really help me out. And stay tuned, we've got great stuff coming up. So take care out there, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.